All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Reinvent Yourself, Discovering Your Higher Purpose podcast. I am your host, Andres Ruiz, speaker, coach, author, and radio show host. And today we have a very special guest that I've had the privilege of knowing for a few years now. I want to say it's crazy how, like,
Yeah.
sometimes you know somebody. I mean, maybe you don't talk to each other that much or, message each other that much, but you know each other. But I've seen this gentleman, some of the stuff that he's doing and some of the stuff that he's done. And, it's an honor to have him here. Uh, so yeah, welcome to the show, Chef Derek Upton, man. So welcome, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you for allowing me to be here with you and have this conversation. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. So Derek, I always like to have people kind of like brag on themselves a little bit, but to kind of get things started, tell us about like what is your superpower?
Well, I struggle with ADHD, and if anybody knows anything about ADHD, you have superpowers. You have things that you're incredibly good at, and you can pick it up and do it real fast. Marketing, digital marketing, and connecting the dots, I think, are what my superpowers are. I'm really good at creating opportunities, finding how to find different ways for different things to fit together to create kind of synergy. And I'm really good at creating like he needs that and he needs that and I need to get this done. So if we work together, we can create this opportunity. I'm really good at those types of things. I think that's really my superpower. That and just like sales, like pattern recognition. I'm really good at that in general, like
Nice.
pattern recognition,
I love
finding
that.
patterns, figuring out what makes sense, and finding the most qualified route to make it happen without cutting quality.
I love it.
So
Thanks, man. And
yeah,
I love how you said, man, how ADHD is your superpower. Instead of people saying, "Hey, that's like something's wrong with you," or no, you say like that's my superpower. So that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. I
it's
appreciate
taken
it.
a lot of years, man. It's taken a lot of years to figure that out, and a lot of years of thinking ADHD was something wrong with me, and I was different, and and to a point, like I am, I do think different. I filter the world differently, but learning how to um, change your life to help your ADHD and not fight against it, and learning what that means for you, because everybody's ADHD is slightly different. It's on a spectrum, right? We all have different weird things that happen in between our ADHD. But at the end of the day, learning what your ADHD is about and then structuring your life to kind of fit so that you're not creating more suffering for yourself is a real
Mm,
big eye-opening for me, and I've only been able to kind of do that in the last few years because I finally wrapped my head around how my ADHD has affect how I just interact with the world.
wow, man. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate your vulnerability and transparency. That's awesome, man.
I appreciate
And
that. That's all
I
good.
Yeah, man. Thanks. So just Derek, tell us like, just before you were doing what you're doing now, like tell us about like a little bit about what you used to do. And just let's start there.
Yeah, so I'm originally from California. I've been in Arizona roughly 15 years. I was in
Mhm.
the music industry. I started off in the music industry. I was a drummer from a young age. I grew up playing drums in a very large church. Church was being viewed in like multiple countries, and so I started getting paid playing for the main services at church, and that led into me being ADHD. I love pattern and I love music, and I catch on to those things incredibly fast, like almost instantly. And so I was playing and getting paid to play drums by the age of 15 at my main church, and then that led into leading or meeting professional musicians because the church was so huge. Like these were real deal pros, and I started getting opportunities to go sit in and hang out at studios, and that just kind of snowballed into like loving art and digital creation and music, and that taught me business. That taught me a lot of things that I now use as chef. But being Portuguese and Italian, I've cooked my whole life. And so cooking has also been a very big, huge passion for me. And then I realized that it was a therapy for me.
Mm, okay.
It really helped my ADHD in a way that like nothing else really did. And I
Wow.
loved that idea of it being a therapy, but also recreating that Sunday dinner feel as a private chef. So that was always the goal, the big goal. So after I kind of decided to move out of the music and follow a passion that I was more passionate about, I moved out to Arizona, got out of California, kind of just reinvented myself a little bit, like kind of broke down the old identity to kind of like figure out what I wanted to do. And at that time in my life, I had never lived out of California before, and so this was my first time like leaving the state, like as a permanent address. So like it was a big adventure, you know. So like that's what led me into Arizona, and I just been working in fine dining restaurants. I went to culinary school kind of later in life, in my early 20s, and then I'm 39 now. Um, but in my early 20s, and I basically just worked my butt off in restaurants and fine dining restaurants and learned everything I could until I got confident, into kind of pursuing who Chef Derek Upton and Chef Derek AZ is now.
Wow, man, that's really cool. Like to know that, like what you used to do, which was, hey, like these, you were at these big events, you're getting paid for drumming, and you liked it. It sounds like it was like something that you really enjoyed, but it just didn't sound like it was like as big of a passion as it was for the cooking. When you got into cooking, that's when you really started getting into like, wow, this is not just a passion, but it's therapeutic. It's helping me with this ADHD. And then
It
and then
is.
like you said, you got started cooking, and you started working at restaurants, and then kind of like creating this, not persona, but I mean this is your own version of like, hey, I'm not
It's more of
just a
just
cook.
finding who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There you go.
like
Hmm.
you're correct. It's not a persona. It's me just on the path of finding out who I've become, I guess, if that's a weird way to
Yeah.
say it. Like
No.
the person I am today, and I'm still every day reflecting and shaving off
There we
parts
go.
of me that I don't like and finding out parts of me that I don't like. And but I think that's what it takes to grow in anything you do. You have to be willing to be incredibly honest with yourself, because if you can't be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest out in the world with the things that you're doing. So it starts with you at the end of the day
Mm.
with everything, relationships,
Yeah.
jobs. If you're not good to yourself and doing right by yourself, how can you do right by anybody else? Because you don't know what that looks like.
Mm. There you go, man.
So how
That's
can
some
you give it to
wisdom right
somebody
there.
else? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think, yeah, I pursued a passion, and I knew that I wanted to. I don't know. I think a lot of people feel this way, and this also might be something that has to do with ADHD. But I find that in like a lot of people I talk to, like especially with ADHD, the dreamers, because we're dreamers. ADHD people, we're creative dreamers. We live in the clouds, right? Like we are risk it,
I
make it
love that.
happen, go big. I am. I'm one of those guys. Like when I was in my
Love
younger
it.
years, like I'd sell everything and go. Like let's go, let's make it happen. Like,
Mm.
and that's great to like a point, but that's sometimes like when you're young and being stupid, sometimes you're like, hey, you're not thinking right. But I love that part about me, to
Right.
just
Of
like get
course.
out there and be aggressive and make it happen. But I think that with all dreamers, sometimes reality gets lost,
Mm.
and learning how to keep a little bit of reality into your dreams so that you don't break your own heart, is a big thing, man, because we're passionate loving people, this ADHD, um people out here. So like we love big, but we also hurt big too. And so like that's the problem with sometimes people with ADHD is like you really got to learn how to navigate that and learn how to understand your emotions and like what reality is and what your own self negative is. So yeah, finding yourself out here in Arizona was a huge part of my journey.
That's awesome, man. And when you got into Arizona, like tell us a little bit about that journey and just how that went, as you were diving into this whole getting into being this chef that, a lot of people know, and tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, I think that, I mean, when I started off here in Arizona, I really had no plan. I was very lost. At that time of my life, I was searching for something bigger than me. And I
Yeah.
grew up in church, I mean, it wasn't like I was searching for God. I was searching for a bigger purpose because I
Mm.
felt like I was just spinning my wheels. I was just kind of like, what am I doing? I've and I've always felt that way since I was a little kid. I've always wanted bigger and more and better.
Mm.
Not like greedy, but like I want to accomplish big things. I want to leave a legacy on this planet when I die.
Yeah.
I still don't know what that legacy is yet. But I'm really trying to like lead that in my life, whatever that legacy is. And I'm starting with me. And so I didn't come out here with a plan. I kind of just said, look, I'm going to go do this and figure it out. So I literally packed up all of my stuff and rented a car because I didn't own a vehicle. I think I had a couple $100s in my pocket,
Mm.
and I found a room to rent off of Craigslist. Luckily, it worked out. I mean, he was kind of crazy. He did some crazy things, but like not to me. So it was wild, you know. And I lived downtown Phoenix on 6th Avenue and Fillmore at a little apartment complex that was built in the 1900s. It was like six red brick buildings. They were originally
Wow.
the managers' quarters when they were building downtown Phoenix, and so they
Yeah.
turned them into apartments. It was a like really cool place. Definitely old, probably haunted, because there was always weird shit going on over there. Um, but I just said, screw it. Like I was miserable living in Fresno, California. Um, and there was an opportunity. Like Fresno is not a city that you go to find yourself. You go to Fresno to retire. Um, and it's true though. Like I mean, Fresno is still the same now, man. There's more chain restaurants are there than there are private chef scene or food scene. Like it's just what it is. And so I knew that if I wanted to do something bigger and kind of, I didn't say these words then, but like what I was trying to do was break the cycles of
Mm.
bullshit in my family life, in my childhood trauma. And so I was getting away from that so that
Mm.
I can figure out who I was. And so, yeah, I came out here with no plan. I just kind of made it happen. All my friends thought I was crazy and said I'm going to be homeless. And like, you don't know. I didn't have any friends out here. I didn't know anybody. I had zero,
Wow.
no family, no
Yeah.
nothing. I was
Crazy.
completely alone and still have been. Like, I don't have a family out here now. Um, but I think that I needed to take this journey. Like, I needed to fulfill that feeling that I was meant for something bigger than following the same footsteps of all the stupid people in Fresno that are still doing the same thing now, 20 years later.
Wow.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to be that statistic. I just didn't.
Mm.
I don't know what you want to call that inside of me, but like I've always had that feeling of like I need to do something bigger. I need to serve people in a bigger way. I need to create a bigger impact in a bigger way. But it always had to be on my own terms because with my ADHD, man, the world's different for us. Neurospicy people, we don't filter the world the same, man, and that gets real scary because it makes you feel alone because you don't
Mm.
at first when you're young you don't understand your ADHD. I don't understand what's going on. Why do I feel the same way? Why do I feel this way and you don't? Right? Why do I feel like this is far more tragic and then you don't? Like there's a weird spectrum there that I'm not understanding, and it took me a lot of years, and it took me a lot of years being alone. I think that's the
Mm.
key thing. I think
Mm.
as a
Man.
man, you need to
Ooh.
be alone. Not
Yeah.
alone like no one loves you, but go
Yeah.
out into the wilderness and go seek your journey. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Like,
Mm.
like I think that's a real thing for men. Like men need to go figure out who they are. And not because mom says they love them or dad says they're amazing. Because if and I'm speaking for men because that's my perspective. I'm it's not to be, to separate the female from what we're talking about, but I can't speak on a female, so I'm not going to try to. But I can speak on a young man trying to figure out who he is and trying not to be lost and trying to
Mm.
find himself. And I think that journey was learning how to love myself.
Mm.
But I had to go figure out who I was out in the world to figure out who I was to love,
Ooh.
because I
Man.
didn't know who I was. you know.
Dang.
Um, so I
Wow.
think that that's what really like in a deeper now that I'm looking back at it, it's just wild that this is all kind of happening right now in the moment. But looking back at it, that's exactly what I was seeking. I was
Mm.
seeking myself, and I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know where to go. I didn't have those skills to find out who I was. And that's also because ADHD back then was not understood. My
Right.
dad's an
Yep.
old school, military kid. He owned a construction company. He's a very much like, rub dirt on it and walk it off. Like that's just who he is.
Mm,
And especially emotions, like emotionally. And so as a
yeah.
kid with ADHD and a father who doesn't understand that, it made for really weird ways to figure out who I was. I spent a lot of time feeling alone. So that journey
Wow.
to Arizona was kind of me like letting go of all that and like against all odds that I perceived that were against me, I went out and just said, look, I'm going to go do something, you know, famine or success. Like I'm going to do it.
Mm,
And so like that was my, I guess, journey to Arizona
wow.
and like just kind of, and it was hard. Like there was times like I couldn't pay rent. And I'm sure a lot of people have been in this situation, like, where you're struggling and you're hustling 3, 4 jobs just to get a plate of food, like, and pay bills and struggle. But I think I needed it.
Mm,
I think it
wow.
it showed me exactly who I was
Yeah.
at the end of the
Man,
day when shit hits the fan.
man, good
It
stuff,
showed me
man.
like,
Woo.
yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Is it no,
Um,
man? This is good stuff.
yeah, man, I had to find out who I was for me and I had to learn how to show up for myself.
Yeah. That's
You gotta
that's
show
so
up for
important.
yourself, man.
Absolutely. I love it.
Um,
And a lot of people can learn from you today, man. And I know that even, I mean, it doesn't matter men or women. It's like they can definitely learn a lot from you showing up for yourself, spending time alone. These are honestly, these are some insights that are super powerful. Getting to know yourself, know who you are, spend time alone, love yourself, have compassion for yourself. All these things are so crucial for one's success. And I'm proud of you for doing what you did for yourself, man. Like
thank you.
honestly, you've definitely dropped a lot of knowledge today. Um, but like tell us like just kind of like what is next for Chef Derek? Like what's coming up next so that people can be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, I think this part of my life as I approach 40, and I start realizing like I have other passions and I have other things that I want to say and things that I want to speak on and different I guess content that I want to create for myself as Chef Derek. Um, I'm going to be coming on with this podcast, which is a huge thing that's like I'm really focusing on right now. Scary because it's like something I've never done before. But this
Nice.
podcast that I'm doing, they're the number one podcast in the country for food right now. It's called the Walk and Talk Podcast. I'm going to be a contributing creator for that podcast, and I'm going
Cool.
to basically like they want to expand their footprint um, from Florida, which is their main hub, to Phoenix. They've got
Okay.
3 million downloads. They're like in 113 countries right now. They have some serious traffic, and I think it's something that I'm passionate about. I think I have a lot to say in the world of food, but also in the world of being a man and mental health and mental illness and struggling with that on a daily basis and learning how to make choices for myself every day before I get out of bed that I can have a positive day. Like those things um, is a project that I'm working on now currently under my company name, Delicious Art Media. It's going to
Okay.
be my podcast. It's going to be my marketing visual media agency. It's going to be everything I run. All the podcast content that I create for them is going to be ran
Okay.
through that company. And then secondly, every Friday, starting January 17th, I'm going to be doing a cooking segment on the morning show called Savor AZ. And
Okay.
it's going to be basically like highlighting recipes that have to do with Arizona and Arizona food and Arizona ingredients and talking about history and just bringing some culture and community into the to the vibe. I'm going to start kind of not right away, but slowly fading out private dinners.
Okay.
I love to cook, but I don't want to hustle leads and hustle private dinners the rest of my life. And so I'm really trying to build my other passions up that have to do with food in the same world. I've always done my own photo shoots. I've always done my own photography. All of the media that everyone sees that I do is all me. I have no marketing budget. I have no marketing team. And I want to take my knowledge of the last 20 years of being in the music industry and then everything I've learned on my own, buying really professional cameras, to do everything I need to do. I want to take that knowledge and I want to turn that into something else for myself. I'll still
Nice.
be Chef Derek Az. I'll still be Chef Derek Upton, but I want to be more on the TV, podcast, content creation side, product branding. So that's kind of really where I'm headed right now. Like I said, people can still book with me. They can still do dinners with me. I'll always cook for people. I love it. But I have some passions that I'm going to start just making happen for myself. I'm not getting any younger.
Love it. I love it, man. Well, dude, man, thanks for being on the show today, man. You definitely brought the fire,
Yeah.
like I really enjoyed this. But for anybody that wants to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
Yeah. So they can hit me up on Instagram at Chef Derek AZ. And then you can also hit me up at chefderekaz.com. And then that will pretty much take you anywhere you need to go for all my social media, email, and contact phone number as well.
Perfect. Awesome, dude. Thank you so much for dropping the
Yeah,
fire
brother. I
today,
appreciate
brother.
you.
You were
Yeah,
amazing. I
man. If you
appreciate
ever
you,
want to,
man.
if you ever want to talk again, man, you want to get deep, well, I'm down. You let me
Absolutely.
know.
Yeah, dude. No, let's do it again, man, for sure. Yeah, man. Well, hey,
Awesome, boss.
Chef Derek, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, the audience, for tuning in, and we will be seeing you on the next
Absolutely.
episode of Reinvent Yourself, Discovering Your Higher Purpose. Peace.